So for YouTube, we are also live on YouTube. Hello, Smith. Good morning.
Good morning.
We shall start the session in 1 minute.
Sure, sir.
I guess someone has got a wrong person has got the link of this chat. Some Ravi Bhai has. Who's the host? Can we remove that person?
Remove. 1 second.
Yeah.
Person has already left us. So Gitansh, the two hosts of the day, Gitansh and yes, we can proceed.
Yeah. So we shall start now. So good morning to everyone. I am Gitansh Marodia, the Managing Committee Member of Surat branch of WICASA. I welcome you all to this wonderful session on i-Audit by our speakers, Mr. C.A. Palak Vasa, C.A. Mansi Jain, as well as Smit Parsania. So for all those people who chose to spend their Sunday morning with WICASA and not binge watching their favorite Netflix show, let me assure you that you have signed up yourself for an enriching webinar. Having said that, here is what WICASA does. So I'll show you a glimpse of what WICASA does in a minute. These were a few events which were conducted by WICASA for information of our speakers and all the fellow attendees of this event. And this is the CA Student Conference, then a WIRC meet with the office bearers. Then, oh yeah, this is the industrial visit to Crefor Industries. Then the Cricket Champions League by WICASA, the Weekend Getaway, the CA Student Conference of 2021, Open Mic Evening of 2021. Then this is the WICASA committee. And finally, we are here on this wonderful session of i-Audit. So WICASA is a Chartered Accountants Students Association, a platform to nourish and grow, to learn, share, participate, and perform, breaking the myth that says CA students' life revolves around books. We ensure every student a stage to showcase their skills and talent, lead and achieve beyond books. It is the right place to build networking and social circle. It works for the students and by the students. We organize range of events from seminars, webinars, conferences, workshops, industrial visits, educational tours, cultural and co-curricular activities, sports related events, and many more events to ensure that every student emerges out as their best version. With this, I would hand over the session to Yash Methwani for giving the speaker introduction.
Thank you, Gitansh. I am Yash Methwani, committee member of WICASA Surat. The software i-Audit has been developed by an Indian startup, Infilytics Pvt Limited, set up by three young, hardworking friends. They are focused on automating internal audit solutions capable of doing audit work of 3 months in just 30 seconds. The first speaker for the day is CA Palak Vasa. He is the founder and CEO of Infilytics Pvt Limited and is a qualified chartered accountant. He cleared his CA in first attempt and secured 7th rank in Gujarat and first in Rajkot district. After clearing his CA, he worked with ITC Limited for 5 years, where he audited numerous business right from tobacco, FMCG, hotels, paper, agriculture, and infotech. This is where the idea of i-Audit came. In 39 months of his audit experience at ITC, Palak traveled 50,000 kilometers to 24 cities, 11 states, and 2 union territories by taking 84 flights, 4 train journeys, and meeting more than 150 people. Mr. Smit Parsania, who is also from Rajkot and is the co-founder of and CTO of Infilytics Pvt Limited. He is a computer science graduate from IIT Roorkee and worked with Flipkart for 4 years as a senior software developer. CA Mansi Jain is the co-founder and CEO of Infilytics Pvt Limited. She is a qualified chartered accountant and is a CFA level 3 candidate. She started her journey with EY in 2015 and worked there for almost 3.5 years. After that, she joined Deloitte and worked there for 1.5 years in risk advisory and where she got the opportunity to audit some of the big brands like Idea, Vodafone, and developed her passion for data analytics. She leads the entire functional and operational team in Infilytics Pvt Limited, consisting of chartered accountants and data analysts and HR. The three of them are extremely adroit. So, not wasting much of their time, I would like to request our speakers to grant us the privilege to hear about the journey.
Yeah, first of all,
Yes,
thank you, Team Surat
Palak.
WICASA.
Just 1 second. What glimpse of sniping shot we should take for the memory? So everyone, please switch on their videos. Thanks, everyone. It was great. Palak, the board is on your. The board is yours.
Yeah, thank you, Jay. Thank you, Yash, for that lovely introduction. I think you did a good research on us, and probably have gone through a lot of data, I think. And thank you, Team WICASA, Surat WICASA, for organizing this webinar. And thank you, everyone, for joining. I see a lot of young minds over here. Spending the Sunday morning with us is definitely very good. Hopefully, we'll make this session enriching and ensure that your time is well spent. So how do we structure this webinar is basically we have split in 5 parts. The first part is basically where we'll give a brief introduction about us and how we came up with this idea. Second part is where we'll talk about the product and the vision. Then the third part will give a small demo of the tool, which is the i-Audit tool. I'm sure a lot of people would want to see that. And then we'll take up questions in the fourth part. You can keep throwing your questions, and you can paste your questions in the chat box. We will try to respond that those questions over there also. And lastly, if you guys want, then you can share our thoughts on the startup ecosystem, which is beyond beyond i-Audit and the larger picture of the audit or larger picture of startup. So yeah, I think if everyone has settled down, I think we can go ahead then with the introduction part. Is that fine, Jai, Yash?
Yes, cool.
Perfect. All right. So just to give a brief introduction, about us, I'm Palak Vasa. In fact, I would say a lot of things already Yash told us. I'll be probably repeating a few things over there. So I'm Palak Vasa. I'm chartered accountant and post-clearing CA. I worked with ITC for 5 years. As part of ITC, I was there in internal audit department for the first 3.5 years, where I happened to travel length and breadth of the country and audited numerous businesses of ITC, right from tobacco, FMCG, hotels, paper, agri, and infotech. And Ujjwal, I think you're on. If you can mute yourself. So yeah, so basically, as part of ITC, I happened to travel length and breadth of the country. We audited numerous businesses of ITC, and that's where realized that a conglomerate like ITC also does a lot of the audit processes manually, and that was an intriguing thought. That's where then we interacted with a lot of our peers who were operating out of multinational companies in India, some Indian conglomerates like HUL, Marico, Flipkart, Amazon. We interacted with our peers over there. We understood how audit is being carried out in that, and we understood that largely in industry, there are very less tools which is available in the market where auditors can actually use those tools and provide a better assurance. Then we have Mansi. Mansi is again a chartered accountant, and she worked with EY for 4 years and Deloitte for a year. She was part of the risk advisory team, and she happened to audit some of the biggest brands in telecom space, right from Idea, Vodafone, and Tata Telecom. As part of her stint, she was able to bring in a lot of insights on how audit is being carried out from the Big Four team. She's amazing at data analytics, so she can churn any bit of data in a quick matter of time, and she can bring really insightful things from there. Then we have Smit. Smit is basically heading our tech function. He is a computer science graduate from IIT Roorkee, and from there he moved to Flipkart, worked there for 4 years. So although Smith, not a CA himself or not, I would say, an auditor himself, but he has been on the other side of the table, where a lot of auditors, from the Flipkart auditors used to approach Smith. He used to understand the business processes, understand, seek data from him. And so he understood that bit of background, where he understood how audit is being carried out. So that's kind of a brief intro of us. That's how basically, we all three had a common vision. And that's where we started on this journey during lockdown. We incorporated ourselves in August 2020. We had few milestones, before we jumped the guns, because we all were all working in our respective corporate jobs, pretty much happy with what we're doing. But we had got a couple of milestones before we thought that we'll start on this journey. The first milestone was have a strong founding team. It's because that's the mantra for a lot of startups. In the sense that if you want to start up and if you have an idea, just analyze your strengths and weaknesses. Just analyze that how much you can perform yourselves. So that's where we felt that the team of three, which is where I was able to bring in a bit of insights from the industry, the idea. Mansi was amazing at data analytics, so I knew that I cannot operate without Mansi in terms of the data analytic capability, and Smith, Smith again, the leading the tech engine. As chartered accountants, we only know a bit of. In fact, we hardly know anything about coding. So that's where I think the Smith is there. So we felt that we have a strong founding team. So that was the first milestone that we had before jumping the guns. Second milestone that we had was have a client, in the sense that we all may have ideas up our sleeves. A lot of things, we have a lot of opinions on what to do, what should have been done, or about a lot of things. But at the end of the day, if you have a customer who says that yes, I'm going to buy it, that's what we need, right? So the second milestone that we had was get a beta customer, and that's where we were very lucky to have Balaji Wafers as our first beta customer, and then Rajkot Nagrik Sahkari Bank as a second beta customer. We're very lucky, to have these guys on board, onboarded, and that's where our journey started, and that's where we felt that I think it's a right time for us. We have a team, we have customers who's ready to buy the product, and that's the time when we felt that it's time to now jump the guns and start a startup. So yeah, in terms of the mission that we are on is to reduce the audit duration from 3 months to 30 seconds. Now that's something that comes from naturally, because we have been auditors ourselves. So that's where the vision is there. Our focus is definitely to empower professionals to provide better audit assurance. We all are either auditors. I'm not sure, the kind of the background of people coming in, but I see a lot of young minds. So I'm assuming that either you're pursuing CA or you're just qualified chartered accountancy with few years of experience. So we all know how do we provide assurance to everyone, to assurance to our clients, and we are in that journey, to help or empower each and every professional, which is chartered accountants, in providing a better assurance. Now, just to give a thought, auditors provide assurance worth trillions of dollars. Now, how do we provide this assurance? Let's just think a bit on this. How do we, what tools and techniques that we use to provide this assurance? Now, don't get us wrong. We are not questioning the assurance per se, but we are just trying to understand the process through which we arrive at this assurance. And we put our cap, we ourselves put our thinking caps on, and said that we can do something about this process. We can help improve this process somewhere. And so that's where the thought of this came, of this particular idea. Apart from that, there are three important things that has happened in the last decade. If you see, the first thing is that there has been tremendous amount of information explosion. Industries have moved to complex ERP systems. People have moved away from probably from Tally to SAPs now. A lot of new technologies is coming into picture. So that means, what does that mean for us is basically a lot of digital footprint is increasing. A lot of data is being maintained digitally, which now an auditor needs to analyze, for providing better assurance. Because if you miss out on analyzing some data set, probably the chances are high that, there might be some leakages over there and which has gone unnoticed from our end. So basically, that is what one important thing that has happened is information explosion. Second important thing that has happened is the financial frauds have increased. Globally, the financial frauds have increased almost to $5.5 trillion. In India, as per RBI, the bank frauds have increased to an all-time high of 1.8 lakh crores in 1920. It increased 17 times in the last 7 years. So that is the second thing that has happened in this last decade. And the third thing that has happened in this last decade is that the role of auditors have become onerous. We see that, the NAFRA has come into picture, where now NAFRA will be analyzing, the auditors, it will be doing a lot of analysis on, whether the assurance by the auditors was correct or not. So the role of auditors has become onerous. You ask a lot of chartered accountants, and they are actually afraid, on signing these lot of financial statements. So we are trying to, help the community in the sense that if we can reduce this work pressure, if we can reduce this workload with this tool, it's what we had thought of. Now some of the challenges, why auditors are not able to provide a better assurance, or why there's some lag in this. So we felt that there are 4 problems in this space. First is that audit is done on sample basis. We don't have that much of time or energy to focus on all 100% of transactions. So naturally, we resort to our statistical methods and we analyze only sample transactions. There is one challenge that is currently there. The second challenge that is there is that there is always a time constraints, in the sense that we have a limited time to devote to one particular client. We do not have luxury of spending months and months for a particular client. So that's the second challenge. The third thing is, of course, knowledge constraints. We don't understand a lot of tech, right? Although we try to spend a lot of time to understand that, but inherently there is a limitation on understanding a lot of technology. So that's the third challenge of knowledge constraints. And fourth is there has been very minimal technological penetration. If you just think, if you just reflect upon yourselves in terms of the way we do audit, majority of the times we use MS Excel, while performing audits. So there has been minimal technological penetration in the space. So that's where we have come to this solution, a one-stop solution named i-Audit. i-Audit kind of is a seamless. It combines 4 processes seamlessly. The first step is that it extracts data from multiple data sources like ERP systems, which could be SAP, it could be Tally, it could be Zoho Books or QuickBooks. It extracts data or structured data, I would say, from these ERP systems. Second is that it extracts unstructured data from a lot of raw images, because we have to analyze bank statements, we have to analyze like KYC documents, we have to analyze invoice copies. So we extract structured data from these raw images. That's the second part. Third is that when the data is extracted, we perform advanced data analytics on this data extracted. And lastly, we highlight audit issues in easy to understand dashboards, and we provide some workflows in the application. So that's kind of a brief of it. In terms of benefits of the application, of course, it reduces a lot of time of auditors. Second, it ensures 100% transactions are audited. It's not, we're not analyzing sample transactions anymore. Third is that it will be definitely 100% automated. There will be minimal interaction of the auditors in this particular tool. And lastly, audit can be performed on the go now. Now audit is not something that will happen on a staggered manner, or it will happen on a quarter end or year end activity. Audit now can be performed almost on a daily basis. And this is something that we feel will be the trend of this decade, where audit will happen on a continuous basis. So I think that's to keep it short out. I said a lot of things about what we're doing. I think I'll pass on it to Mansi, where she will be able to give you a brief of demo of what we have done, and then we'll probably open up questions for people.
Thank you, Palak, and thank you, Team Surat WICASA, for having us. I'll just put up my screen to give you a brief demo. Yeah, can somebody please confirm if my screen is visible? All right, okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yes, thank you. So this is something that we had designed for one of our clients. So this is the first dashboard page that the user is able to see when he first logs into the application. Now, what happens before this is that the system automatically extracts data from ERP, from standalone systems, from Excel files even, processes it, perform data analytics as per the predefined logics set in the application, and summarizes it into these graphs, charts, tables, and output reports. Now, on the top, what you see is basically a check status. What this shows is basically that out of how many ever number of checks that have been configured in the application, what is the status of that as on date? So in how many checkpoints there were issues noted, and how many checkpoints there were no issues, how many checks failed due to some technical reasons like power failure or server crashes, etc. And in how many cases there was some input data that were required to perform the test were not found. So that would come over here in the missing part. This below is a very customized dashboard that we feel management would like to see. What has been the procurement trend, current year vis-a-vis last year, or vis-a-vis the targets. Vendor distribution basically shows that if there are any single vendor dependencies, COGS variance from last year to this year, what has been the top 5 purchase returns, etc. So, for them, we had designed mostly from the procurement side. They were more interested in that. Hence, all the charts have been designed from that perspective. We can have any sort of charts, graphs, information that the user would like to see. Right. Now, on the top, we have two global filters. One is a period filter. So since this application run almost on a daily basis, if we want to go back in time and see that, let's say what had happened in the month of April 2019, then the user can quickly select that period and the entire dashboard, summaries, etc. would be refreshed. Second filter is the business area filter. What it shows is basically if somebody wants to see the status at a company level, then they can select all business area. If they want to see it for a particular business area or a plant, they can select that. And again, the summaries and dashboards will be refreshed. So this was the dashboard page. Now next we have the audit module page. So here various audit modules will come, procure to pay, taxation, order to cash, GRC, etc. So we have one sample module for you, which is the procure to pay. Now in procure to pay, there are various sub processes, right? So purchase order, goods receipt, invoice receipt, payments, etc. Now what we have done is that we have divided all the control points into these respective sub processes. For one, so that it's easier to understand, and second, so that you can set accountability as to where it's going wrong. Now, what it has is that basically first column gives the check name. Second is the issue count, that what number of issues were noted in that particular check. And status is a simple tick and a cross. A tick means that there were no issues noted and it was all good there. A cross means that there were some issues noted. Now, if we click on one of these issues, what would happen is that a detailed summary would open up. Now, first check that I opened is procurement rate variation. So what this check shows basically is that if the procurement rate was differing for more than 3%, then it would appear over here. So, if for the same material, we are procuring from a vendor at more than 3% average rate, then that's an issue. And we have divided those issues into these 4 quadrants. So same material in the same month, procured from same vendor, same business area. Second is same vendor across business area, across vendor, same business area, and across vendor, across business area. On the right is a graphical presentation of the various price points at which we have procured one material, let's say edible oil, in the month of, let's say, April 2019. So these dots are nothing but the price point for a particular vendor. And on the horizontal line is basically the various business areas. So we can quickly see from here that in BA01, the average price point was somewhere around 60 rupees, whereas in BA04, it is a little higher at 62 rupees. So, it shows that where we are realizing procurement efficiencies, if there are any outliers, such things can be quickly identified from this. Now, let me take you to one other check, which is duplicate vendor invoices. Now, what this check shows basically is that if for the same material, we have punched the invoice twice. So what we have done is we have matched the invoices basis 6 parameters, which is PO number, invoice date, vendor, amount, and currency. If all of those 6 parameters match, then we say that it's a very high probability it's a duplicate invoice. If 5 of them match, then we say it's a high probability, 4 medium, 3 low. Now, as an auditor, we want to go in further detail that, okay, what are these 2 issues? Let me go through them. So what you can do is you can simply click on this download button and a detailed Excel report would open up. It will just take a moment to open. So here you can see the details of those 2 invoices, that what was the PO number, document date, who was the user who punched it in, the invoice number, vendor code, amount, etc. So then, you can share it with the process owners, or, the process owners themselves can see and fix it in the systems. Right. Another feature that we have is the in-mail functionality, so that you don't need to download and share it. You can just mail it directly from here. Please look into this, attach the summary table, attach the detailed Excel report, and send a mail out from here. Right. So this was all about structured data set. Now, what I mean by structured data set is anything that is in the form of rows and columns. It could be ERP data, it could be standalone systems, it could be Excel files. But there's some data which are in unstructured formats, like your PDF files, your process SOPs, your invoice copies. So those are, images or PDFs. So for that, as an auditor, we need to check those as well. So what we have done is we have provided a platform in phase 1, wherein all those checks would be listed down here, and the auditor can quickly fill this checklist. So they can click on this one check and I'll just go further down. Let's say invoice verification. So you know what, when you click on one of these checks, you will be able to see that what was the business area. You can fill the issue count, what has been the compliance status, who's the point of contact, what is the due date of closing this issue. You can put in comments. Let's say there are issues coming, but there is an approval present. So you can quickly mention approval present. You can even attach those approvals or any Excel file that you would want to attach. So this is phase 1, wherein we have just provided a platform for checking these data points. What we're doing in phase 2, I'll just quickly show you the design of it. So basically when you, I'll just show you the same check. So when you click on one of these checks, invoice verification, what would happen is, just a moment. Yeah. What would happen is a list of all the invoices that are available in the system would open up. And when you click on one of these invoices, the system data that resides in our ERPs would come on the left. In the middle is the actual physical invoice copy. You can zoom in and see the details. You can even compare that whether the invoice, the data in the system and the physical invoice copy is matching or not. And on the right is the checklist that you need to check in an invoice. Let's say, was the GST number correctly mentioned? Was the purchase order number correctly mentioned? And you can put a tick, cross, not applicable. You can even put in some comments if you like, and you can submit it. So then it will be again summarized it in that format. So this is phase 2, wherein all your physical documents will come into the system. In phase 3, what we're doing is that we'll be using OCR technologies, wherein we'll be matching this information ourselves, bringing it into a structured format and performing data analytics on that. So then what an auditor just needs to see is that what are the anomalies coming in. Let's say in invoice, you want to match 5 details and only 4 of them match. Then you can quickly check that which is the 5th detail which is not matching. You can speak to auditors, discuss in detail, and get closure on that. That was a brief demo on i-Audit. Please feel free to ask any questions, and over to you, Palak.
Yeah. So anyone has some questions?
Yes, so we will be coordinating the questions in a minute. We'll all the participants will be sending us the questions first, and we'll ask you that.
Yeah.
The first question is, do you think that working companies like EY, Deloitte, ITC played a role in your nourishment to grow and build your own startup?
Yes. So definitely yes. This is a question of how corporate culture or a corporate job helps to shape any founder. This is the question. So yes, I would say it definitely helps a lot. Personally, I think all 3 of us, and I think Mansi and Smit can also take up this question. Personally, I have been very much benefited by getting through the experience and through the churn of ITC. I'll be always overwhelmed and thankful for whatever that they have taught me over there. So to all the young minds out there, who's thinking whether to take up a job at this point of time or not, I would and before jumping the guns, I would do request, get a bit of exposure in the corporate world. Yes, you, even though if you may have an idea of what you want to do, don't worry, hold on to that, get some bit of experience. I'm not saying that you need to get experience like us only, 5 years or probably 10 years, but even if it's a 1 year or 2 year experience, that will also help a lot, in your journey as a startup founder. So over to you, I think, to Mansi and Smit.
Yeah, I mean, 5 years at EY and Deloitte were really great for me, and professionally, it groomed me a lot. Professionally as well as personally, like whatever I've learned in these 5 years. As small as, how to write a mail, I've learned at EY and Deloitte. And I've got really good mentors at both of these places. And till date, like, I speak to them and see how I can, get it better, where I'm doing wrong. So it helps in networking as well, and truly an enriching experience for me.
I'd also like to add something. So basically, see, I think it's all about getting that professional skill and deep expertise in whatever you're doing. As a chartered accountant, as probably some engineering students, coders, whatever you're doing, you need to learn current state of the art. You need to get best exposure in the industry. Try to get into such companies or experience where you can learn from the best. Because all of us are starting out, even as all three of us, when we started, we are still in that learning experience. We still learn every day something new, some new challenges that are hitting us. So that's never going to stop. But I think as as young as you guys are starting out, you definitely need to learn from the industry first, get to the current best, and then build on that. So corporate world is definitely going to help you to get to that level.
So
I
next
think
question.
important
Yeah,
point over there. Just what Smith said. One is that you will learn your deep skills in the sense that you'll be very confident. I'll tell you that as part of when you start up, you'll be talking to a lot of people and probably a lot of senior guys. Okay, so we have talked to the risk advisory head of KPMG. Then we have talked to very senior people in industry. We are directly talking with heads of internal audit, your CEOs, CFOs. So when you know what you're doing, your foundation is strong. You'll be very confident. You will not be jittery when you're talking with these guys. So this confidence is what I think corporate culture will be able to give it to you. And don't misunderstand when we say corporate. It's not just about going to any industry. It could be even a practice. Even if you're working to any medium-sized CA practice firm, even that is a corporate culture basically. Even that is a corporate experience. So yeah. Over to you, Gitan.
Yeah, my question is, what is your view on having a one-sided team? Like, if you are only CAs keep bringing up this company, rather than having Smit Parsania, Mr. Smit Parsania in the team. So, what is the role of having a diverse team?
I'll tell you a story behind our startup. So, we started doing this back in 2018, and it was just me and Palak back then. And we didn't have a tech partner. So, we failed like 6 times. It didn't happen because we don't know what technology is. So, we were just speaking to vendors and, we want this, we want this. So, we were not able to give any clarity as to what we want in terms of technology. Like functionally we know, okay, we want these checks, this to happen, but how it will happen, that clarity of course we don't have. So that is where the tech the cross-functional role comes in, and where Smith has the expertise and he's able to bring a lot of insights on how this should be structured and how this should happen. So a lot of time now goes into our respective areas, instead of like I'm now getting into how technology is working, like how will we process tons of data. My thing is just to give the logic, and then it's Smith's responsibility to get it done. Similarly, Smith doesn't have to worry like, okay, how will we identify duplicate invoices? He just needs to figure out, okay, this is the logic, how do I need to code in the application in the best possible manner. So of course, like, don't try to do everything by own. Focus on your respective skill sets and double down on that.
Next question is by Rakshita, is that how might automation impact the CA as a career opportunity? Like, we are giving an audit software which would completely do the task. So how would it impact us as CA?
So basically, it will have a positive impact is what we definitely feel, because now you can be rest assured, in the sense that the assurance that you're providing will be based on a tool, and you can draw that assurance from there. So in terms of pursuing CA, definitely that's required. What will happen is that now CAs will be focusing on value-added services, and not focusing on those field activity and not focusing on those dirty work. reconciling those bank reconciliation statements, reconciling those invoices, asking data from auditees. So those type of works, will go away, and we will be freed, to actually provide those quality services. Just reflect upon ourselves. You have been articles, we have been, we have been working with a CA firm. A lot of time, we spend our times on dirty work, which is, just analyzing those bank reconciliation statements, analyzing those invoices, doing vouching and verification. And I'm sure a lot of people don't like it. How many times we have, gone home and pulled our hairs saying that, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do this, So that's where I think a tool like this will definitely help out, where, the dirty work, the basic assurance part of it, something to be done by the tool, and the CAs will be freed up for quality services. You can actually focus on the larger risks of an organization. You can focus on, giving them the strategic decisions, the strategic, consultancy to the organization. And that's where, it will be beneficial for our fraternity largely. So yes, we do feel that it will have a lot of positive impact. And you can go back home and have a peaceful sleep, not worried about, analyzing those data sets.
Yeah.
Can I have a follow-up question?
Yes, please.
Yes, please.
Yeah, so like, there are medium-sized firms and there are few practicing CAs, proprietors, and they earn their money or their whole career is based on auditing, right? So which will be replacing the whole process through just 30 seconds of audit through your software. So wouldn't that kind of take away a lot of opportunities for these people?
In fact, no. What has been the case is that, there are a lot of times we have heard that, being a mid-sized firm, the companies want big fours, the brand value, presence all over the world, which mid-size are not able to, cater to. So that's where the restraint comes. But with this tool, these CA firms would be further empowered to give that kind of assurance, one, and to have that kind of reach. Because then you don't need to spend so much time on the field work, on regular monotonous tasks. But also the tool won't be able to do everything for you what an auditor does. That is where your core capabilities would come in, and you will be able to make sense out of the anomalies that have come out, and tell to the auditee, to the management, okay, these are the issues, you need to fix this, and this is how you are going to fix it. So that kind of core competencies, the core consultancy, only a CA can provide.
And all, okay, sorry.
Yeah, please just go ahead. No issues.
No, please go ahead. Then I'll carry forward.
So basically, I tell you, it's a perspective shift that is what we are trying to do. And especially for the mid-sized firms, especially for those, self-proprietary firms, this is all the more beneficial. Because see, understand, a proprietor, he's handling so many things himself. He's analyzing sales, where he's trying to get, clients onboarded. He's handling his probably on small team, which is, which will be made of interns or small teams, whatever that he has. He's analyzing his personal life. He's analyzing, his core work of, analyzing data sets in Excel sheets. So a proprietor is doing so many activities. And that's where we feel that this tool will be the maximum beneficial for proprietor and for probably for mid-sized firms, because with this tool, he will be able to handle so many things at a go. He is not worried about, the basic assurance part. Wherever he's signing on a paper or signing on a financials, he'll be rest assured that, okay, this bit is already been checked by the tool. He need not spend time. He will spend more of his time on getting more clients. So this will actually help them to add more revenue rather than, on reducing his work. So that's the mindset shift, is something that we are trying to, communicate to a lot of people, and hope that, probably we are able to successfully communicate to you as well at this point of time. And you have some other questions, please.
Yeah. So firstly, yes, I think it's a, great mindset change, because as students also, we are not very familiar with the technology side of the whole auditing and everything. So it is definitely a mindset, and also it's a good opportunity to learn. So I wanted to ask that these data which we collect, so it is definitely based on the data which is provided by our clients, right? Yeah, so means I'm not sure if this is how practical life moves, because I have only read theories. So what if the client does not provide certain data? There's no assurance of that. when we go to the field, we check all the manuals, we check all the registers. So there is assurance ki jo dikh raha hai wo hai.
Right. So that is, actually a right question for you from your end, in the sense that, what if the data that is provided by the client itself is not correct? What if, what is reflecting in his ERP system is not actually given and shared to you? And that's where, we are building connectors, in the sense that, with the tool, we have connectors with the ERP system. So you can very well say to your client, that, okay, don't worry, don't worry on giving me data. I have a connector. Okay, I'll pull data from you. Just give me credentials. Just give me a read-only access to a software. I'll not be doing any changes to the software. I just need a ID and password through which I can read some data, and that they need to give, as part of the engagement. They have to give that, as there is a basic engagement that we do with any client. So the moment we get a read access only, we have a connector with in i-Audit. You just get data from them, and you'll be rest assured that that data is actually correct, and flowing from their ERP systems, and there is no fudging of the data. So that will give you more comfort.
Okay, great. And
That
now
makes
just
sense.
one, yeah, it did make sense. I
Yes.
didn't think that through. So yeah, so one last question. So like a lot of clients have different softwares which they use. For example, some of them use RERA, few of them use Tally. So different accounting software. So is the software that you have made, is it comfortable with all the accounting softwares and all the possible other different, operations or something?
You have asked an amazing question. that's the nail biting question, that we ask ourselves every day internally. In the sense, how can we make this tool, really scalable? How can we make this tool in a certain manner that, that everyone can use it? It's just not limited to SAP or SAP Business One or Oracle or Tally, but can be used by very sort of ERP systems, different tools. So the way we have given a thought to this, is that if we analyze any financial statements, what is it that we look at from where we'll draw a lot of comfort? So that is basically your revenue, your purchases, your expenses, your fixed assets, inventory, and general entries, and your provisions. So these are the 5 areas. If we analyze thoroughly, I think we can draw a lot of comfort on the financial statements of a company. Of course, there are a lot of other things that I'm not getting into details, but these are the broad 5 areas that we have realized that if we analyze that. So what we have done is that we are trying to, and I would say we're still on that journey, is that we're developing the templates, so that moment we get data in those templates, irrespective of the source system, we will be able to analyze that data set. And the beauty lies in the simplicity, in the sense that sometimes we look at these complex ERP systems and we get too overwhelmed that, okay, oh, there's so many things happening in the system. But at the end of the day, we have to analyze very basic things. And that's where we narrowed down on these 5 areas. And we are building templates for these 5 areas. So irrespective of what ERP system that you'll be using, we can pull in data in the tool, and then give you a comfort on, okay, the purchases are good, their invoices, the sales is, their revenue recognition is good. Likewise, the account receivables are flowing in properly. If there is any risks in that, we can highlight that. Your inventory is fine, your fixed assets is good, so that's where any provisions, that is definitely one area that we do spend a lot of our time. That we frankly a lot of times you don't even know where the provision is made, unless and until you analyze each and every transaction by yourself. So the tool can also give you that, these are the total quantum of provision which has been made. So that's how we are dealing with this particular thing.
Great. So like technically the professional skepticism is still in our hand. We are not losing that out.
Certainly.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much.
Yeah, Gitanj, if you have any questions, we can take it up.
Yeah, Yash is asking, I guess.
Yeah, please.
The next question is from Chirag. The question is it possible to build a widely successful company without burning out and damaging other parts of your life?
I think so. If you want to achieve something in life, okay, there are compromises, certainly. When you talk about, when we all did our CA, we did compromise, in terms of we did a lot of sacrifices. Compromise is not the right word, but sacrifice is the right word. We did a lot of sacrifices, in terms of our personal life, in terms of spending time with our friends, going to parties. So I think sacrifice is definitely required in terms of wherever you want to do. But simultaneously, definitely you can do focus on your personal life. It's not that you cannot. It's all in your mind. How do you deal with pressure? How do you deal with situations? It's all with us. So I think we're still on that journey. Definitely a bit of personal life get affected, but I think maybe Mansi and Smith will throw a better light.
Yeah, Palak is a very workaholic person, so he doesn't understand the concept of work-life balance. But yeah, like I mean, a little, yes, definitely compromise, but something we all three of us, personally focus on is that not to compromise on health, not to compromise on, not having lunches on proper time or dinner. Whatever we are doing, we take out time to have lunch at the fixed time, to have snacks, to have dinner, to do some kind of physical exercise. So health is something that we are not compromising at. And personally, all three of us love work like crazy. So even at 3 o'clock in the night, if you ask us, oh, let's do this, then we'll all be up, and we love that. So it has never like we have not taken it that way that it is a compromise for us. So when you really do what you love, you will not feel that you're compromising on that. And one more thing I want to add is like we are really grateful to our families who have been really supportive. Like there were times that we were working from home during lockdown, and our parents used to just sit next to us. They because we were all on phone coordinating, doing something, and they would used to just sit next to us and watching us and listening to our calls. And they've been really helpful. So that is how we had a personal life and enjoyed that too.
Yeah, so I think it's always about choices, whenever you probably choosing friend circle, places to be, things to do. This is kind of a choice. If you're liking it, if you want to spend time on it, you want to professionally excel at something. Yeah, I think you choose this, and definitely, if you take up some option, you will be leaving out some other option. So that's always going to be there. But one thing I definitely would like to highlight is there are some times and some places where you can give your 200-300% effort and get things done, but it should not be like you're completely diving down and burning yourselves out. Burning out is never going to help. uh, Sometimes it's okay, but you're gonna need to get back on track and get that right balance, so that you can nourish yourselves, you can fill up your tank and then run faster.
Uh, the next question is what obstacles you faced while starting up, and what benefits did you get? Like I have seen your one more seminar regarding this benefits you have got from the Gujarat government. So can you give a light on that? What obstacles as well as what benefits you got while beginning?
Yeah, I think every startup goes through a lot of obstacles, and so have we. There's no doubt about that. But how do we try to navigate through is that we had the small milestones defined for ourselves, and we didn't focus on the larger, like definitely there was a focus on larger picture, but we didn't spend a lot of our energy on thinking on the larger picture. We focused on ensuring that if we can achieve those small milestones, I think then we are making progress. So that was what our approach was. In terms of challenges, definitely the current work environment, the current biggest challenge that I think everyone is facing is pandemic, and we were no exception to that. In the sense that because it's a startup, because everyone working for you will be new people. You will be meeting these the people working with you will be new kind of thing. You are also interacting with them for first time. So having those team activity, having that communicating with the team was something definitely challenging, in the sense that the things are very dynamic. Today we are thinking on one particular aspect in a startup, and after a few conversations with someone, we realize, okay, I think we should be focusing on something else. And so and how effectively that to communicate back to the team. that becomes very challenging, especially in the COVID times. So that was definitely one big challenge that we had. In terms of other challenges, I think every startup has another challenges. Getting those customers on board, getting those marquee names. Every startup wants to have customers on board. And that's definitely another challenge. I think that's a perennial thing. It's not that it's now something to be thought about this now, but it's always to be there. It's something definitely is for us also to get those marquee names on board. A third challenge would be, definitely in terms of managing your cash flows, because initially you always bootstrap it, so you don't know how many eggs to put in one basket, right? So we have to be very smart enough to identify, okay, that this is probably the potential revenue that we will be generating. This is the quantum of burn rate that we can have at this point of time. Yeah, once you have funding, the challenges will be different. But at this point of time, we are all bootstrapped company, so the challenges of bootstrap company is all the more different. So that's definitely the third challenge. And I think if anything, Smith and Mansi want to add.
I think for me, the biggest challenge had been, getting the right set of people, because being a startup, there are some challenges in convincing people that, we are doing this and you have a future with us, and all those things. A lot of people do ask that, okay, how are you going to pay us salaries? So yes, it's convincing. It's at this point in time, you are selling it to client, but as well you're selling it to the team. So finding the right set of people has been a little bit of challenge for us. But now we are settled, a bit settled over there, and we have been getting good applications and everything. So that was one of the challenge during initial times.
And how did you meet Mr. Smit Parsania? Like, you are from CA background, he's from IIT. So how did this happen?
I think Smith, you want to take up this one?
Yeah.
Yeah, so kudos to these guys to finding me. So I think, as Mansi mentioned before, they Mansi and Palak, they personally gave me this shot a couple of times before. But actually, me and Palak, we both did our schooling here in the same school in Rajkot, and up till 10th standard, we were there together. Then we got onto our separate ways. We actually met a couple of times in Bangalore as well before. Then actually during COVID, Palak struck, okay, let's give this one more time, this idea one more shot, and he got in touch. Not from the perspective, okay, let's get in touch with him, but he was just exploring. Are there any options, other tech guys that we can get in touch? And yeah, then he got in touch, we discussed this idea, and I was like, oh, okay, I think I'm only interested to do this, so let's get in touch. So we discussed. I had a fair bit of background from my Flipkart experience, accounting, auditing related stuff. So it clicked to me. I understood the problem. They were able to set the context really well about what is the problems, what is the gap, how we can deal with this, and how I can contribute. So yeah, everything came together really well.
And there is an interesting background behind that also. How did we start on the 7th time? In the sense that, when I came back home because of the lockdown, I was on my journey to pursue MBA, and I think even Mansi was I think he was contemplating, or she also started on that journey, where we got GMAT books and we were reading on that. And then my mom came, and then she blackmailed me emotionally, and she was like, my elder brother is there in London, and she said, one son is already in London, and another son will also go, and I think you should do something over here. You are passionate about startups, passionate about business, and you work on an idea. That's what my mom told me. You were working on an idea, I remember. Why not you should give that idea one more shot, And I'm like, mom, I tried that, plenty of times. And okay, if you're saying so, let's do one more shot. We're not finding the tech guys. So if you find a tech guy, I think then probably we can do that. And that was where I think we were lucky. In the sense that I pinged Smith and saying that the message I sent to Smith was, Smith, do you know any tech guy, who can actually help us and work us on freelancing basis, or, who can help us out in developing the tool? And Smith is like, in fact, I think I can work. I'm like, do you have so much of time? Flipkart, I think, is a very daunting profile that you have. So do you have so much of time to work on a freelancing basis? And like, not freelancing, I want to work full time. I want to be part of this, and I'm like, wow. So that's how we stumbled upon, on Smith. And yeah.
There are two hands raised. I'll first see to them. Raghav Bhatia, you can go first with your question.
So, hello. I wanted to ask that what are the loopholes of this software? Can it go wrong at a certain point? Like you said that in phase you will be using the OCR technology. Like if a small proprietor is maintaining the books on a handwritten basis, and suppose he writes rupees 1 lakh on an invoice, but the software thinks it is written 10 lakhs. He interprets it as one more zero. So can it go wrong at a certain point?
So I think yes, every software will have bit of a bugs, so that's of course our intention, to ensure that the software is foolproof as much as possible. We do take a lot of steps behind that, in terms of building a strong logic. That's one. Second is that we have checks and balance inbuilt in the application. So I give an example. It's like, let's say if you're analyzing invoices, and there are, let's say, 100 invoices raised in an ERP system, and when we're analyzing those invoices, we do a check that, whether we have analyzed those 100 invoices or not. So basically we do a population testing check through an independent data set. So that's another way, we're trying to build some checks and balance. Third way is, it's classic case of what you said about the OCR. Something that, we are also contemplating and deliberating a lot of our thoughts on. We have found a mechanism where we believe that, if we have done that check, and if it's a right check, we will definitely tell you that, with a probability that, with a 90% probability or the 100% probability, this particular check is performed, it's correctly performed. If the tool feels that, it has not done properly, then the tool itself will give a probability saying that, okay, it's a 60% probability that that particular check is correct. So that is what is something that we're working on. If the tool can itself tell you that this is a probability with which it has analyzed that records, and this is the probability of which, it is correct or not correct. It's something that we are currently developing, and hopefully will be out with that soon.
Okay, thank you.
Next, someone has a question. Someone has raised a hand. The Realme 2 guy. I guess Rohan Kasad, do you have any question?
I just wanted to ask, like, your software, it is more transparent as you're saying, but how you can distinguish it with the blockchain concept? Like, blockchain will be more transparent, the transaction happening of blockchain will be more transparent. So will your software be need then?
Interesting case. Smith, you want to take this?
Yeah. So I'll just like to give a brief to the audience of how blockchain is working and what is the two-liner. So see, blockchain technology, has allowed the whole world to, go that. So up till now, what was the problem was, if there is some bank statement or there are some entries in some database or any kind of data, in general, a third-party audience is not sure about it, right? If somebody has made some editing to it, or they have changed something, we are not really sure about it. But what blockchain allows this is to do this at scale. It's a basically peer-to-peer networking setup where all the entries are distributed to computers or databases across the world, and they are completely over the network and purely encrypted, so that if anybody is changing something, there will always be some record of that, and frauds and any such issues can be really detected. So it has solved that problem of providing security and ensuring that everything is right at scale. But the problems with blockchain again is this only, that the current set of ERPs or current set of data, or how the companies or the operations that are set up right now, they are not yet ready for incorporating on blockchain. Say for example, if we take a case of a bank, right? Say for example, right now, if SBI is doing all of its transaction and everything, the blockchain technology is really promising, but it's not at that level of security yet, or usage yet, that our whole banking operations will move to blockchain. It's not possible right now. So all of this data set which is relying locally with which each and every bank or customer inside their own network secured, uh, abhi, everybody is with that kind of comfort. Probably in the next decade or so, we dheere dheere will see more and more adoption of blockchain, and then this will help. But auditing in general still will remain same, just the source of the data is going to change. So right now we are getting data from some private networks or ERPs or from own softwares. Tomorrow we'll start getting it from blockchain. Even we can use leverage blockchain to improve our security and public access. But yeah, I think that's about how blockchain will affect the whole software.
See, just to summarize, I would say, see, blockchain basically helps you to perform an operation. Okay, now at this point of time, it's helping you to maintain your cryptocurrencies across the world. So it helps you to perform a operation. Now it could be the accountancy at the future. What we are doing is we are giving assurance on that. So blockchain, no blockchain, you will need some tool which will say that this is happening correctly, right? So that's how I would differentiate it.
I have one more question. Like I have never worked in the audit field. I'm working in the valuation and fundraising field, but my friends are working in the audit field. So like my friend is working, doing audit for a jeweler shop, and he's like, will just be doing vouching, and all the adjustments will be made by the partner, like the CA, the chartered accountant of the firm. So is there any scope for adjustments like after doing i-Audit? Is there any scope? Well, I don't know anything about audit.
Well, I would say that we are not taking audit away from any CA. See, the professional skepticism still lies with the chartered accountancy, a chartered accountant. We are just empowering them, right? So we are enabling them. We are not taking away anything. What adjustments has to be done? Probably that is under the purview of the chartered accountant and the client. So we are not saying that you cannot do. We are not putting a block, or we're not putting up what do you say, a lock. I would say that you cannot pass any entry. I think sure you can pass an entry. We will just give you a statement saying that whether that entry makes sense to us or does not make sense to us. At the end of the day, the chartered accountant has to take a call.
Do you think that if government uses your software, so it will be benefit? They could found such anomalies which have been done by the adjustments done by the client and the chartered accountant. Then,
Yes, very true. Yeah, Mansi, you want to take it?
Yeah, it can be used by anyone and even they can do it. In fact, we are working with one of the government departments to help them do GST audits and, performing this. So at the end of the day, see, wherever data is, you can perform analytics on it and you can use i-Audit for that, be it an audit or be it in any kind of field, like regular day-to-day operations as well. So yes, it would help anyone who want to gain some insights from the underlying data, be it government, be it enterprises, be it auditors.
Mansi, one last question: like how a student like me who is doing his articleship could get better at analytical skills?
I mean, see, I would tell that focus on Excel, learning Excel. There can be a lot done in through Excel. Like even today, I am still learning a lot of formula in Excel. Like don't coding is a new cool thing that people think, but don't jump into that. Let engineers do that. That is their bread and butter. So just learn how data looks like, how you can perform analytics, and simple pivots and VLOOKUPs also help. But over and above that, learn advanced data analytics, sum ifs, count ifs, nested if, and see the power of it. And let's suppose Excel has some data limitations. I understand that you can analyze only 10 lakh items at a time. But then there are other data analytical tools available like Alteryx, Power BI. You can use those wherein you don't need to code it per se. and perform data analytics on that. So don't try and learn programming, coding, and such.
Now,
Thank
next,
you.
just to add on that, see, data analytics is a subjective thing. If you ask someone working in a geo, he will be analyzing data in a very different manner. Probably what you will be analyzing data while you will be doing valuations, right? So understand your field or understand your domain where you're working on. Okay, and understand what types of tools are probably are available to help you to improve those particular domain. So in terms of probably when you're doing valuations, I think Excel skills is something that that's required for you. You need not learn probably artificial intelligence, right? You need not learn any bit of other things. So, but you can also use, you can learn Power BI, you can learn Tableau, which will help you to probably do better visualization of data, because when you're analyzing data, you want to see the macro picture. When you're doing valuations, right, you want to see the macro picture of how things are moving. So over here, so understand the domain first. So my simple answer is understand your domain that you're working on, and depending upon that domain, you see what tools are available in the market and learn those tools. And don't underestimate Excel. That's what Mansi said.
Thank you.
Next, we shall take the question by Dilkush Khund.
Okay, so my first question is that what is your vision for i-Audit, and in terms of customers or expansion in your software? So how do you look future for your business?
Our vision is very simple. Every auditor on this on the planet, should be using i-Audit. So that's our vision, as simple as that. And in terms of our expansion, yes, we are focusing on expanding, to other geographies. We are already in talks with some of the Saudi-based companies, Bahrain companies. We are trying our hands on US-based markets. Of course, simultaneously ensuring that, we have got good marquee names in India also. So yeah, that's our expansion plans.
Okay, so next, Yash, do you have any question?
Yeah, this one's for Smith. Smith, for people who want to enter into software development and coding, unlike what Mansi said, so where can they begin?
So I think probably a little different answer for different kind of audiences. For engineering students who already have some background onto how coding and everything is working, the basics of it, they can move on to, like for CAs, Excel is kind of bread and butter, and you can keep improving upon that, learn more and more. Similarly for coding also, you can run on data structure algorithms. There are a lot of online websites, a lot of visibility right now. After this edutech boom of White and Junior and Newton School and all the coding practices. So basically, it's like you need to improve on your base logic first. That's really important. uh, Apart from that, you can explore languages. There is tons of that. You can learn Python, Go, Java, anything. Language is not particularly a barrier. It's more on, okay, what you're trying to do, and for that you can learn that specific thing. For non-engineering audience, if they want to start on something like this, again, they really have to start basic, start understanding very base coding principles. They can refer to a lot of online material. Right now, there's no limitation on internet. You can find almost everything at each and every beginner level also. So people who are learning engineering in colleges, you can find the same material out there on internet and start learning on that. So from very basic coding, start understanding for loops, if, and whatever, all of these basics, then go build on that, then one more building on that. So you can try that, but I think before figuring out, मतलब the ways are clear, path is clear कि ऐसे करना है, यहाँ से पढ़ना है, all of that. But before starting on something, you make a path. Okay, where do you want to reach? What do you want to do at end of all of this? Even after 2 years of practice and you start learning something towards an end, after that, what do you want to do? So everything should be defined by your final goal of achieving what you're doing. There are methods and ways. I can start learning Excel, but by learning Excel, what do I want to achieve? Right? That's not my best skill right now, and probably I'll be lagging behind even you guys in that. So you go double down on your own strength, finalize okay, what do you want to do, and then make a roadmap, and then you can do it.
Next question is, like, we are conducting bank audits as well through our software. So how does that function? Like we saw the Balaji Wafers case. So how does the bank audit feature function?
It functions in a very similar way. Here we are more compliant to procure to pay, order to cash, GST, taxation, and all. There the modules are a little different. They're banking, credit, recovery. So there we look at the RBI directions and circulars issued, and we ensure compliance to them. But the tool pretty much remains the same. Data at the end of the day and analytics. Yeah.
Yeah. So do we, like, how can we use OCR? Like suppose there is an issue in the property documentation, so we can't use the OCR there, or how do we function with that? Because there are a lot of times where the loan is sanctioned. Suppose there is a clause that you cannot have the valuation report in the sale deed, which is not older than 1 year. There's a clause. So how do we function? Do we have specific data points that we have to check this and this, or do we have everything inculcated in the software?
So right, in the sense that see, OCR is a very tricky tool. In sense of concept, it's very basically it converts your unstructured data into structured data. But when you actually go and apply it, it's very tough. The probability of getting accurate results varies from 60% to 90%. No tool on this planet can give you 100% accurate results. So that's the challenge of OCR. So some of the complex things it's very tough to do, as what you mentioned. But in terms of simple things like ensuring that the validity period, whether the contract or whether the valuation report is still valid or not, so that can be done. So that can be actually checked from the OCR. It can be otherwise it's a bit of a tricky thing. We have to actually do it. So what we do is that we basically strategize ourselves internally. We focus on those set of documents we can where we can give better level of assurance, and then we are gradually moving. For example, lorry receipts. Lorry receipts are always done, or always it's a handwritten note. So then those types of things analyzing through OCR becomes very tough. So it would be a phased manner. I don't think so it would be like a one-stop thing.
Sir, and is your product valid for smaller CAs? Like when we would begin, we would be having in proprietorship form. So is it just for the corporates or the big companies, or is it for the smaller companies as well?
Definitely, it's for some small companies also. We are currently, on a roadmap to develop that, and hopefully we'll be launching that soon. We're also in talks with the ICAI to develop some tool, for all 88,000 auditing firms across India. So that's definitely on our roadmap, and let's keep our fingers crossed.
How did you reach your clients in start?
Knocking on the doors. So it's as rudimentary as that. Just go land up to their office, knock their door, and start talking. That this is what we are doing. This is in your mind. We had a very, I would say, in fact, for Balaji Wafers, I think in the last meeting when they almost finalized that they want to go ahead the tool, that's the time when we actually showed them the small brief prototype of the tool. Otherwise, it was more about talking with them, understanding whether they want this type of a tool or not. So that's as rudimentary as that. Just knock their doors.
Yeah, I wanted to ask that how are you guys able to manage such a lot of things? Like Mansi, you were into Big Four, and Palak, you were also into ITC. You are also, I think, you are also pursuing CFA, na? So you are also doing CFA. Palak, you also did your CS, na? So how are you guys able to manage such a lot of things, and what motivated you to even go further, like not settle at this stage and go even further? What were your initial motivations?
Well, actually, in terms of that's what you mentioned is all about academics. When we were pursuing academics, I think the trend that was there initially was to do CA, CS together. And then the new trend came that, I think CFA is something that is also recognized. And I was also, I knew that, somewhere I'll be part of corporate finance team of ITC, and that was my second stint where earlier I was part of corporate audit team, and then I went on to corporate finance team of ITC. So I knew somewhere over there, so that was a natural extension to then to do CFA also. So that was a in that sense. In terms of motivating a startup, I think I was always an entrepreneur by heart. There's a small story. When I was in my 6th grade, basically, I used to I used to sell stickers to my friends. And that was and that was not something that I had strategically planned that this is the profit that I'll be creating, and this is the money that I'll be getting from this thing. But it came very natural to me. Okay, so I think I had always told to myself, I've always told my interviewers, in fact, that I'll be starting a company, in times to come. So that was my natural motivation, I think.
Next, we shall go with the question by Rakshita.
Yeah, so I wanted to ask that, a lot of things are based on how the accountant writes it. For example, I'll tell you my own experience. So in GST, so what they do is sometimes they write it as GST input, or they write it as just GST, or sometimes they write it to be credited, or they have like zillions of spelling mistakes. So won't that lead to misinterpretation? Because the software is made to detect such words and accordingly analyze it.
So I didn't get that question. You're talking about when they are passing journal entries in the system.
Yeah. So like for example, I want to talk about GST input. Okay. So I have put CGST input in few of the journal. Few clients put it as CGST input. Few clients put it as credit to be taken. Few clients address it as something else, just CGST. So different clients address different aspects in a different way. So won't that create misinterpretations? Because accounting styles are different and principles are different, business policies are different.
Are you talking about the GL name that they put in the ERPs?
Yeah, name as well as different policies are followed by different organizations.
Right. So see, we understand that ERPs are 70% standard and 30% customized according to the businesses. So similarly, our application is also 70% standard and 30% is the customization. So when we configure it at a particular client or for a client, what we do is we understand those things and then do these mappings and necessary changes in the application. So it works seamlessly across. I think Palak has a question. Palak Jhawar.
Can I go ahead?
Yeah.
Okay, so basically 99% of the frauds, bank frauds are 99% of the frauds are bank frauds, and RBI offered the explanation that it is due to the weak implementation of early warning signs or non-recognition of early warning signs by the internal audits in the banks. So how is i-Audit going to help there?
So as I said, this application runs almost on a daily basis. So, as the transaction is happening, it sends you the red flags that, this transaction has gone wrong. As simple as, the NPA recognition that you have sanctioned a new loan to somebody whose earlier account was NPA, or you have not classified it, you are not doing it wrong. So it sends you the signals at the right time. And if, as you said, there were failure in recognizing these early warning signals because somebody was not checking it on a regular basis. Now with the system, it will be highlighted on an everyday basis and somebody has to just address it.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Adding on to the question of Palak, there was a case while bank audit, I found a case that a company is there who is issuing a loan, who is issuing a bill against an associate concern, and that associate concern is taking a business loan on that bills, which is not allowed legally. So is i-Audit able to find out clearly laid frauds like this?
So if I've understood it well, basically we do this sort of checking in the tool, in the sense that if let's say if you are giving out loans to someone who is classified as NPA, or if you're giving out loans to parties who have been bucketed as a high risk parties, so then it can throw as a red flags. So those type of things, we have actually configured in that tool. Remaining, probably if I'm not answering a question well, then probably those things, actually goes as part of our customization.
Okay. Next, we shall go with the question of Jay.
So the main part of the CA student is finance. So what was the basic capital? What was the loan part, and what's your funding part that you are focusing on?
That's the investor question that we do get. So basically, whatever that we have pulled in at this point of time, it's completely bootstrapped. In terms of, we have also got a capital infusion from Gujarat government of 20 lakhs, and that we will be soon receiving those funds also for us to utilize it. And apart from that, we have defined a roadmap in the sense that, any startup, when it goes for a fundraising program, then it has a roadmap in its mind, in the sense that, we have a runway of, years. It's basically ranges from a year to 1.5 years. So we decided our roadmap or our runway for 1.5 years. And accordingly, we find out a number, that probably this is a number that we want from investors. And then you back calculate it, and you say, okay, this is a dilution that I want to go ahead with. And then this is the valuation at which I'm arriving at. Startups typically at this stage, we don't have any strong financials because we just started off at 6 months. So this is the kind of a seed that we are at, which is it's a seed stage. If you're running a startup, or if you are thinking of developing a startup, understand at what stage you are. You can be at an angel, you could be at idea inception. It could be just an idea. It could be, pre-seed. It could be seed. It could be pre-series A. It could be series A. So understand which stage you are, and accordingly, you will get a valuation surrounding that stage. So we are currently in that stage, and we felt, then we did some bit of math internally, and then we arrived at some numbers on the funding. So yeah, we are currently in that discussion of raising some funds, and hopefully that news should be out soon.
The next thing, that how do you manage the 1 year of paying salaries to staff and all? And what is the currently staff base, and what are you expanding the staff base?
So as of now, we are 17 people, and we are further expanding. We are hiring like crazies, with considering the workload that we're expecting, the number of clients that we are going to close soon. And also, as Palak said, we are in discussions with the investors and going to get it. So far, it's bootstrapped by 3 of us, and salaries are being paid through that.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, and how to decide on salaries, or how do you decide on what you want to expend is simple. How much you have in your bank account. Just do that. Just check your bank account, and just understand, that how much you can carry forward with this. So depending upon that only, you can hire resources. You cannot, of course, everyone wants to a huge team of 100 people, right? But you also have to be cautious of what you have in your bank account.
Now one more question for Smith. Maybe it is like, you're already quite digitized, but with the pandemic, was it still difficult to manage and control the operations virtually?
So yeah, I think definitely COVID has been challenge for all of us. But being a early stage startup, we have tried bringing in everyone here on ground with us here in Rajkot. So we have tried major arrangements, like we have provided flats and vehicles and everything, secure facilities where there is less, exposure to all of traveling and everything. So like we are managing somehow. We are trying work from home also on alternative basis to see like how we can perform with that. So yeah, I think challenges here, but we figure out ways to deal with it.
Yes, do you have any other questions?
We have some questions in the chat box from Rohan Kasat.
From Palak.
Sorry?
3 mistakes, yeah.
Yeah, 3 mistakes
you would change, like.
Very interesting question. I think, the way I look at it is, I'm glad that I made those mistakes, and that helped me shape who I am today, right? So in the sense that, if I have to correct any mistakes, probably I need to give a better thought of that. But I would say that I'm glad that I made those mistakes, and that helped me to shape. One thing that I'll tell you was that I was very passionate about taxation. When I started my articleship, and that's pretty much for a lot of people. Where they don't want to do audit, they want to go for tax. So I did my articleship from in taxation. Starting off. And that's where I soon realized, okay, probably taxation is not my cup of tea, and that's where finally I landed up in audit, So I was glad that I made those mistakes, glad that, I actually had this preconceived notions in my mind, and, that helped me shape who I am. I think anything Mansi and Smith probably.
And nothing like I can't recall actually. Like I really enjoyed my period, and I still recall those times sometimes. And it has been really a great journey. And I don't think I would like to change anything. Like probably the mistakes that I would have made during that time has made me more, better. That I will not repeat those again. So I would not like to change anything, and I'm happy the way the journey has been so far.
To add on to that question, I actually wanted to ask that something that you would like to tell us, even we are students. So something that we should improve upon or focus on during our articleship days, so that we
Yeah.
don't make any kind of big mistakes.
Right. So I just want to tell everybody that don't take articleship as very lightly. Try and learn as much as you can. Like don't think it as like others are enjoying college. Why not us enjoy it? How does it matter if we come at 10 and leave at 6? Our job is done. That's the stipend they're paying. Don't think like that. Take it as a learning experience, and learn as much as you can, and work as hard as you can. And having said that, please focus on your studies. Don't be like, you can't say no to work just because you have classes and somebody says and you don't go to do that. Don't do that as well, because you don't want to, have attempts on your kitty, because attempting CA in the first attempt itself is very hard. Doing it again it's a nightmare. So try and crack it in the first go. Like put in your efforts at least. Like at least you shouldn't have any regrets that I didn't work hard. Like all the best, and that's the message that I want to.
So I will add on to this, a few things that you should focus in articleship is, whatever client that you're dealing with, understand the business, understand the larger picture, understand and try to connect the dots in the sense that, that's one thing that definitely I would do. And which, in fact, I would say that I did a mistake in terms of I used to not understand the business a lot more, so that's one thing that's definitely is. Second is, definitely learn those Excel skills, in the sense that that'd be really helpful, in a long journey. And articleship gives you those use case scenarios. A lot of time people, in other background, they want to learn Excel, but they don't have use case scenarios, So you already have that, articleship. So learn Excel. You can focus all your time on that. And third thing, definitely, yes, what Mansi said, focus on your studies. And what else? I think I'm missing out on something. Yeah, I think, yeah, pretty much it.
Okay, thank you so much.
So I guess we are over with the questions. So here I am with the official vote of thanks, that it gives me immense pleasure to honor to extend my hearty vote of thanks to Mr. CA Palak Vasa, CA Mansi Jain, and Mr. Smit Parsania. And I'm sure that it have inspired our students and given a message that perseverance is key to achieve the ends, because you have failed 6 times, but finally 7th time you hit the milestone. I would like to thank WICASA for creating a wonderful opportunity where we are able to conduct the wonderful session with you. An event like this cannot happen overnight, and we had a big team of volunteers behind this who are functioning. And I'd be failing my duty if I do not extend a big thank you to the audience who have always had a long learning attitude. And for this, I thank all the patient listeners. And with this, we end the current session. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure for us as well, interacting with such young and bright minds. Looking forward.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks a
We had
lot.
a lovely time.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Team WICASA, Surat WICASA branch, for actually inviting us. Thank you, Jay, for reaching out on LinkedIn. Thank you, Gitansh, for I think a very wonderful way you moderated, and Yash for that amazing introduction. And I think everyone out there who spent their Sunday morning, with us, I hope it was a fruitful interaction, and we didn't waste your time. So thank you very much. Thank you for inviting us. It was our pleasure.
Thank you, sir.